Thursday is the 1st of May. Many will celebrate that tradition by happily dancing around the maypole. It's May Day. For the Rangers, it's different. It's May Day, May Day, May Day. We'll talk about that next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Oh, yeah, there was a bad loss. So we'll talk about that. Yeah, it might have been the worst of the season. Heck, it might have been the worst in a long time. I haven't thought about it in those terms. We will here in a minute, Jeff and I. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast, and we're happy to have you with us. We're glad to be here in the podcast studio today, and we've got your comments coming throughout the show. Jeff and I are here. The Prophet's over there. We appreciate it if you will like us and subscribe to us, and start by doing yourself a damn favor. Get to this $36 diehard deal. Today's the last day to do it. And if you do it today, you have full, look at there. There's a skipper bringing us cake.
Happy birthday, Pop Pop.
It's Pop Pop's birthday. If you're a fan of the Cowboys show, that's a good-looking cake. If you're a fan of the Cowboys show, you know Pop Pop is our old friend Clarence Hill, who's a baby.
At 60, yeah.
Just turned 60.
Yeah.
That's cute. And so
I've known Clarence probably half his life. We've
have you
known
really?
Each other
almost 30 years, yeah. Okay.
From our time together in Fort Worth. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I've
probably known. I mean, I was covering the Cowboys when he
Yeah.
first got here for Channel 5, so I've probably known him and certainly known of him for around 30 years too. So anyway, happy birthday to him. Happy homestand for the Rangers, we hope, because things didn't go well again on the road. And so, we've got a lot to dissect and a lot to talk about. The reality is there are some reasons for optimism, Jeff. Even yesterday, Bruce Bochy was talking about, after that horrifically bad loss, a silver lining.
That's what you got to do. You always got to keep moving forward, and there are the 10 hits, and I think 9 of them came with 2 strikes. So, that's good hitting. Right there. The problem is they didn't come with runners on base and scoring position and all that jazz. So there is that. I poured myself a nightcap last night, and I sent a picture of it to Boch. It was bourbon, and I said, I made it a double for you. And then he texted me back this morning. I drank a whole bottle. So it's definitely a tough one, and a tough road trip, and just an aggravating time as they wait for the offense to do something. And, but to his point, I guess, you kind of look at this team still above 500 at home for 7 games. So you get a chance to clean it up and, the proverbial sleep in your own bed and feel good, but
home cooked meals.
But you kind of look at the Rangers. They've played 9 teams so far this season. Their opponents are 141-14. That's pretty amazing.
140 and 114.
141 and 114.
Okay.
So their opponents are 27 games above 500. There's only one team, the Angels, that's below 500. They have a combined ERA, those teams, of 3.96. So not bad. Now the Rangers have the ERA of 3.22, which is better than all their opponents that they've faced, either collectively or individually. But then there's the non-silver lining, which is last in runs in baseball,
right,
at 86, and 29th in on-base percentage at 276. So they kind of go hand in hand. You're not getting anybody on base. You're not scoring any runs.
The Rockies have won 4 ball games this year and have scored more runs than the Rangers. I mean,
Yeah, it's it's just terrible. And then you go and look at the Rangers walks, 58, second worst in baseball. Thank God for the Angels on the on base and the
Right.
walks.
Yeah.
So it's just that's where it begins. You're just not getting guys on base. Their batting average isn't great, obviously, at 225, but it's like 24th in the league. So it's not like the worst.
Abysmal.
It's not great, but of course it starts with getting guys on base, and if you're not going to get base hits, you got to get walks, and this team's just not doing that for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah, and it's frustrating, and it's hard to explain. And then you look at things like even on this road trip. Granted, they had one game, the first game, where they scored 8 runs in a victory. The other victory came in a 2-0 game, Jeff. So even the wins, you're only scoring 2 runs, right? And the 8 was the biggest run total of the season thus far. So there haven't been any of those 10, 12, 14, which we kind of expected, right?
Yeah.
We expected so much offense that and in the past, the kind of offense that could outslug the opponent, outscore the opponent, because in the past, the Rangers didn't have much pitching. Now they do.
Right.
But again, eventually, like, it all works in cycles and waves, and eventually the pitching's not going to be quite this good. The hitting has to pick up.
Right. And, I'm trying to think back to like 23, because it seemed like the Rangers scoring 10 runs every other game.
They did.
And so what's different from 23? Who's different? Well, Nathaniel Lowe is not with the team anymore, and Mitch Garver's not with the team anymore. And Garver, I know he missed the first 3 months of the season or whatever, and was a big force in the second half in the playoffs. Lowe was good until about September, but still not quite good enough. And I know now he's off to a really good start. Garver is still struggling, but it's a lot of the same guys. Jankowski played a lot that first half and was good.
He was good.
Ezekiel Duran was really, really good. But you look at it, it's like, okay, well, Josh Smith is replacing Duran. You have a combination of guys who are playing in the outfield and playing pretty well with Wyatt Langford, and you're getting nice production from Dustin Harris. Unexpected, I would say, production from Dustin Harris. But like Adolis is down. Seager's hurt, as he was in the first half of 23.
Sure.
The big difference is Simeon. Simeon had a great April in 23, and so did Josh Young. And so you're trying to make up for that. Berger he showed some signs of life, I thought, over the weekend. Jock Peterson, of course, did. I mean, Jock had a nice little series.
He did.
He really did.
He seems to have maybe got an RBI first of the year. He got a double and a triple. Got stranded on base both times.
But I guess my point is, if 23 is not that long ago, and it's a lot of the same personnel.
Right. And so what you hope for then is Jake Berger to be more like himself, and ultimately, right, you think he can be offensively at least what Nathaniel Lowe was, and ideally more, right?
More of a threat,
power.
Right. Exactly.
More power.
Exactly. And
all right. And then you need Marcus Semien to be more like he was, obviously. And he had a great April and a good year. I mean, a good year.
Was third in MVP vote.
Yeah. And then you need Adolis.
Right.
I mean, you just, look, he's mercurial, right? He has ups and downs. He's that kind of guy. But, man, they just need to figure a way. That's one that worries me a little bit because, again, he's such an emotional player. And if he's way down emotionally, I hope they can figure out a way to unlock that and get him back to his confident and, it's chicken and the egg, right? He starts hitting, he's back to the confident, celebratory, infectious guy. But until he starts hitting, he's not that. And it's a stark difference.
Well, and we've talked about this with Bruce Bochy. I mean, Adolis was really down on himself at times last year. And it was a factor, and maybe you start to see him chase in those situations. I mean, he wants to be great. Obviously, he loved that postseason run. I mean, who wouldn't love it? All that he did, and the hero that he became, but yeah, he needs positive results, and I just keep going back to that at bat in the sixth inning after Peterson's triple. It's like, just put it in play.
Yeah.
Right? Put the ball in play.
Yeah.
No outs, runner at third, strikes out on 3 pitches that were out of the strike zone.
Chased him.
Yeah, and not like just off the edge.
No.
I mean, or
No.
in the dirt. So, you wonder where he's at there. And, he made the changes in the offseason, and it took a little while for them to click in spring training. And they did, and you felt really good about Adolis coming in. And then he had a nice couple first 2 weeks, and now it's been back downhill. I know he won the game last weekend against the Dodgers, but you really need your big guys to deliver, especially when Seager's on the injured list. I know it should be over with this weekend. Seager's IL stay, he'll hop right back into the lineup. I don't think they'll make him go do anything in Frisco. Maybe they would, but he doesn't need to. He's proven that before. So maybe you get whole again and things start to click, but it's just I'm still stuck on it, and how it's not. It just seems impossible that this team is as bad offensively as it is.
It really is. It's difficult to believe, but if you look for those silver linings, the fact that Berger is looking better at the plate, the fact that Peterson is looking better at the plate, and the one thing we know about offense, even more so than pitching, they say it about pitching, but I think it's more true about offense, Jeff. It's contagious, right? And when the guy in front of you gets a hit, you come up there and you feel better about your opportunity to get a hit. And it kind of snowballs in a very positive direction when things start going. Now, did that happen yesterday? No, because there were 10 hits and 10 men right? There were two for 10. They were 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. They've got to do better than that.
Right. And again, they both came in the first inning, and the first one did not score the run. It just advanced the runner to third. So, so basically they're 1 for 9. If you really want to, and again, it's the guys that you're counting on to produce in that sixth inning. I mean, you're not counting on Nick Ahmed. He was in the game because Young was hurt, and Young has said that he's playing today. He told Bruce Bochy that after the game with the cut on his finger, and Bruce Bochy was like, we weren't sure if he could even bat again with the finger and the cut and the bleeding. Okay, that's great. That's fine, but it was unfortunate timing because, boy, you would like to have had Josh Young up there instead of Nick Ahmed, and but still, at least Simeon put it in play. But he hit it. You got to hit it up the middle, not to the first baseman.
Yeah.
And it's aggravating things like that. It really, the Rangers, I'm sure they are. They're embarrassed. They've got to be embarrassed.
No
with
doubt.
This.
No doubt.
Especially, again, MVP runner-up. He's on the injured list. I get it. Third place finisher in the MVP. He's active. American League Championship Series MVP. He just misses right there. Josh Young in and out of the lineup. I think Josh Smith might be wearing down. He's just moving around the diamond, and he's going to need days off, I think. The catchers have been okay, but Jonah wasn't very good yesterday. And when your hottest hitter on the day is Jock Peterson and Leody Taveras, who've been MIA at times this year, and for Jock pretty much the whole season, you get contributions from them, but then everybody else goes dry. It's a head scratcher.
It really is, and it's one of those that, again, we'll be out there talking to Boch about today, and he, like, there's no firm, solid answers, because if there were, they would have already implemented it, obviously. So it's one of those things. They'll keep scratching their head, and they'll keep scratching and clawing, and this. Nobody in the room, mentally or physically, certainly, is giving up on this thing. So the offense will get better, and with any luck, the pitching will stay as good as it has been. We talk more about the pitching next as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast. But first, we want to remind you about our good friends at Empire Today. The Rangers are home, where they are 10-3, and you know what that means. They've got a home field advantage. And Empire Today is all about home field advantages. They will give you a home field advantage if you just give them the opportunity to earn your business. They've been doing this longer than anybody else. They've been doing this better than anybody else. You know how much new floors can spruce up a place and make a place that might be looking a little tired and a little dilapidated just beautiful. So go to Empire Today and check out their different things that they have available to you. The flooring options are unbelievable. They're widespread, and they have that technology that allow you to take a picture of your room, and they can match different styles of flooring to it. It's a wonderful technological advance, and you need to take advantage of it. Also, take advantage of getting $350 off your new floors. EmpireToday.com with the code DLLS.
Big weekend at the ballpark with the Mariners coming to town, and then right down the street at AT&T Stadium, it's the Lone Star Smokeout, featuring barbecue and country music. Maybe the two most Texas things out there. It's coming. It's Friday through Sunday. You get to try barbecue from 14 teams and decide for yourself who's really the best. I mean, these guys take this stuff seriously. Then you get to pair that with stuff like Texas Biggest Happy Hour, Derby Day, Kentucky Derby on Saturday, and then the Cinco de Mayo a day early because it's the 5th on Monday the 5th. But they're going to celebrate on the 4th, as well they should. And then country stars like Cody Jenks, John Pardee, and Midland are all going to be performing. Stay tuned to DLLS for more information. We're going to have a VIP ticket giveaway for each day of the smokeout, and kids 10 and under get free. Tickets start at just $68. Go to LoneStarSmokeout.com.
So Patrick Corbin toes the rubber tonight for the Rangers, and then it's DeGrom, Eovaldi, and Mahle. So this is a chance, right? This is an opportunity for the Rangers to extend that 10 and improve upon that 10-3 record at home. If they had actually gotten to 11-2, Jeff, it would have tied their best 13-game start ever, which is, and they were on the verge of possibly doing that in that last game against the Dodgers and didn't quite get it done. But the point is, they've been really good at home, and back to the last segment, not that much better offensively at home. I mean, there hasn't been that much of a difference. That said, they've pitched so well at home that they feel pretty good about, every time they walk out there, they've got a pretty good shot to win.
Yeah, and they probably feel that way right now with a 3.22 overall ERA with the team, and guys like DeGrom and who looks like he's finding it, Eovaldi who's had it the whole time, and then Mahle who's just been one of the surprises in the league. And Corbin's been fine. He's been keeping them in games. He has gotten some run support. I guess if any starter can say, I've gotten a little run support, it's Patrick Corbin.
Yeah.
But they need to give more to. They just need more. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game. I haven't seen DeGrom pitch in a while, scheduling conflicts and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's going to be a good opportunity for the Rangers to win a series with who they have lined up to pitch. We just saw the A's, so there should be some familiarity with the guys that they will roll out of the bullpen and the starters and whatnot. It goes both ways though, because the A's just saw Corbin and DeGrom. Now they didn't see Eovaldi or Mahle, so that'll help work to the Rangers' advantage, I think. The A's are still looking for a starter for Wednesday, I think it is, with JT Ginn now on the injured list. So maybe that's tomorrow. Whatever. The Rangers have a chance here to continue playing well at home. And, roof will probably be closed, I'm guessing, today. It's pretty windy and overcast.
Very windy out there.
Just take advantage of what the game presents to you. And the Sears guy has been tough on him. But it doesn't mean that seeing him for the second time in a week, you can't make an adjustment and figure something out.
Yeah, that's the thing. We always talk about that you don't love to have your pitcher face the opponent, in this case, Corbin, right? You don't want him to face them because they all saw him. Well, the Rangers pitchers all saw the A's. I mean, the Rangers hitters all saw the A's pitchers too. So It works both ways. The Rangers need to do a better job. They know it. That's all that's going to be talked about out there today. When your offense is that bad. And it's really amazing when you consider where they do stand. I mean, again, they've fallen into second place because the Mariners got a victory yesterday and have moved to 16 wins and moved into sole position of first place in the American League West. We'll talk lots more about the West coming up in just a minute. But the reality is the pitching is the only reason they are where they are. And once they come around offensively, it should get even better. Jack Leiter yesterday came back from the injured list, and he had a 37-pitch first inning. Yes. And he was really having trouble landing the slider, and he kept going to it, right?
Right.
And that was an issue. And he finally realized, all right, I have other off-speed stuff. I may have to try some of that. He walked 4 in his outing, and that was largely due to the fact that he was, kind of getting stubborn, I think, lack of a better word, in that first inning.
Well, and if we're being completely honest, the Rangers gave away the 2 runs while he was pitching. He walked 3 in the first inning, and he walked 1 guy in. Then in the 4th inning, when the other run scored, he was out of the game and scored against Jacob Latz. But Leiter had walked a batter, Ramos, and then allowed Ramos to steal second base, just kind of losing track of the guy. And so it only took a single to get him in, and they gifted the Giants 2 runs there. Everybody talks about the last run, which was a huge gift,
ridiculous gift.
But those 2 runs that the Giants scored were basically handed to them, and so when you talk about the Rangers pitching's been very, very good, and it has. It could have been better yesterday. It really could have. And you say, well, the offense needs to help them out. You allow 3 runs, you shouldn't lose most of the time, and that's the truth. But you got to tighten things up sometimes too. And Leiter could have been better. And going forward, he's had 3 starts now, 2 good, 1 not so good. And so it needs to be better. I'm sure he'll make an adjustment. He's maybe get his timing back. Whatever it is that in his mechanics that was off yesterday, I'm sure that he'll have another day to work through it and pick something up and move forward and be better. But it's not like and this is a kind of like sounds like I'm the attorney for the offense. Well, it's not like the pitching was great. Because they did give away 2 runs, and the could say, oh well, the offense did enough if Leiter hadn't done what he did. Yeah. But again, you score 3 times. You hold an opponent to 3 runs, you should win the game.
Yeah, you should certainly, absolutely. And that was 2 in a row, by the way, where they, they're knotted at 2 going into the 9th inning. It's just it's not enough offensive production, and again, that also speaks to how well the pitchers have done. I love the fact that Jack was able to rebound from that 37 pitch inning and come back out and shut him down in the 2nd inning, and that type of thing. There you see the final numbers on the day, but the fact that he was able to, that showed a sign of growth to me and some maturity. That because in the past, I think he's down on himself, and it's kind of a spiral.
Right. No, that you brought up a good point. The 2nd inning was fast and clean. Gave up, I think, a hit or a walk I guess it would have been a hit in the 3rd. Pitched around it, and then kind of ran out of bullets there.
Yeah,
he was at 74 pitches in the 4th, and his first time back, they weren't going to let him go much further than that. So. He should be able to, go 90 to 100 next time out. Although, he won't have that extra day of rest. He'll be on 4 days rest, normal rest. Maybe they don't let him go to 100, but if he's more efficient, he'll go deeper in the game and, give the Rangers a chance.
And that's the one thing he was his first 2 starts. He was a much more efficient pitcher than what we've seen, and he was really in command of those games. So, fingers crossed on that front. And, again, then you get to the bullpen. And yesterday, they were taxed. They were put into a position where, they really had to use everybody pretty much the day before. They weren't going to use the high leverage guys because they had been used too much. So that's part of this juggling act that Bruce Bochy has managed so well. And not just here, for his whole career, he's considered that guy who can really manage a bullpen well. And when you consider the fear, lack of a better word, right, the wailing and gnashing of teeth that we were all doing headed into the season based on what they did or did not acquire as in the relief corps, it's been amazing, Jeff.
Yeah, they really went into the season thinking they had 3 guys they wanted to pitch the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and it's held. It's been Garcia, Martin, and Luke Jackson. Now Hobie Milner, I think, is right in there.
Yes,
I really do, and he's just been so good. And you saw him used to get a lefty out a couple times on this road trip, but then he came back in and faced some tough right-handed hitters on Saturday and got through them, and it's fun to watch. I like all of these guys that throw the way he does, and that Rogers for the Giants, holy crap, dragging his knuckles on the ground.
He gets bloody. Yeah,
that's crazy stuff. But it's fun. It's different. It's you don't see these guys anymore. And Mike Maddox has always loved to change a pace guy like that. And so I think that Milner's really somebody that they trust again. And if Garcia has to be off today for whatever reason, then they'll very confidently go to Hobie Milner.
Sure, absolutely. He's earned that opportunity, certainly. And again, it's a left-hander. So that's also there's not just a plethora of lefties either in the bullpen or in that starting rotation right now.
Yeah, they're with Milner, and then Latz is a guy who, but he's more of a long reliever. So it's a valuable guy to have. If Latz is a long guy. I know he worked the 9th inning on Saturday, or in the 9th, gave up the winning hit because they were out of arms. They weren't going to throw Garcia there. But if you can have 2 lefties who you trust to throw on the back to go with the 2 righties, I still think that Webb and Armstrong are trustworthy. I think Webb maybe a little more so than Armstrong because Webb's better against left-handers because of the changeup. But you're talking about 5 guys right there who you can swap in and out, and I would suspect that Jackson only threw 1 pitch, so I would very much suspect that he's ready to go today. But I would also think that Martin and Garcia could go back to back. But if not, for whatever reason, they've got guys.
Yeah, that's fine, and they've got options, which is great, and that certainly helps, and that's that depth in the bullpen that Bruce Bochy has cherished and has used very well over the years.
I not to cut you off, but I do wonder if they go get an arm today, because Corbin hasn't been going deep into games.
Yeah,
and would they want just some protection there? So would they? You probably would option Latz. Maybe bring up Cole Winn, who's been really, really good at AAA. I don't know. That's just something that I was thinking about.
Sure. By the way, we haven't mentioned Bosley.
Bosley's been great,
but he's probably down today, right?
I would think so. Yeah. But Mike Maddox thinks that the guys who had the 2 best springs were Caleb Bosley and Patrick Murphy. And Murphy, just unlucky timing on an injury. He's in Arizona throwing. Finally, it's taken a little longer than they thought, but Maddox fell in love with those 2 guys, and rightfully so. And Bosley's been great. I mean, he was pitching. What was it, the 7th or 8th inning? 7th inning. You're like, geez, what's he doing in there? In a tie game? And all this,
and they needed length out of him. Yeah, I mean, they needed him, and he gave him length. Sure. So, good for him. But again, probably down today because he did give them length. All right, so the American League West is the opponent for the next two on this homestand, and of course they just finished with that series against the A's previous to the Giants series. So lots of games against the American League West, a division that some think could be the deepest in baseball. We talk about that next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Yeah, I was in a slump yesterday on sleeper, but I ended up going 2 for 3 yesterday.
Okay.
I'm back in the game. I'm feeling good about it. Sleeper, you probably know them as a fantasy outlet, the leader in fantasy sports, but they've transitioned into daily picks as well, and it just heightens the sports watching experience, and you can do it for as little as $1. Basically, what it is you get such and such. There you see right now on the screen. If you're looking, will LeBron James have more than 2.5 block shots? If you think he will have more, then you hit more, and you get a multiplier. If you think it's less, it's a multiplier. Anyway, those multipliers add up. You hit the button, you decide how much you want to wager, and those are your, for lack of better words, odds. It's great. And if you use DLLS Rangers as your code, Sleeper will match $100 of your up to $100 on your first deposit.
Yeah, that'd be great, and I'd encourage you to do that. I would also encourage you to go to LinkedIn, especially if you're hiring somebody. If you own a business, you know that you spend pretty much every waking and sometimes even non-waking hours thinking about it. You're stressing about it, you're worried about it, and one thing you don't have time for often, because you're trying to make the business a success, is spending the proper amount of time hiring somebody. LinkedIn Jobs takes care of that for you. Post your job at LinkedIn Jobs and you will get the best candidates available. And we encourage you to do that because LinkedIn is so vast, and they will they will find you the candidate you need. So you go to LinkedIn.com and you use the code Rangers, and you get to post your first job free at LinkedIn.com with the code Rangers. All right, before we get to this American League West thing, let's discuss, because we didn't in the first segment, talking offense, bring up the most likely possible change. Not that we think this will happen, but it would be the change you make if you are going to make one. And it pairs with Rarity's question to us: would Michael Young or Ian Kinsler be hired as a hitting coach? Neither would even consider that job. Neither one would.
Michael Young sure the hell wouldn't.
No,
I don't think Kinsler would either.
No, neither. They wouldn't. It's first of all, when you have made the kind of money those men made when they were playing, it's not as necessary as it used to be. Used to be, guys needed to get into coaching because they could, keep a decent income coming, and they didn't make enough to set up their family and their kids and all that stuff. These guys have. So, and what you just have to realize, especially with Michael, but Ian too, is that they don't want that lifestyle. Coaches are at the ballpark even more per day than players are.
Right.
And so they don't want the travel, and they don't want a month away or 6 weeks away at spring training.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things that, and there are some even getting out of the game today who do, but Michael Young and Ian Kinsler aren't two of them.
Yeah. I guess you look and see Edgar Renteria in his role, or not, I'm sorry, Edgar Martinez in his role with the Mariners, this Hall of Fame guy.
Made plenty. Yeah.
Did pretty well financially. But anyway, I don't anticipate that either one of these guys. I think that's more of a rare exception. You don't see, it's kind of like basketball. You don't see great players become coaches, like, and if they do, they're not very good. Like Magic Johnson tried to coach. He wasn't great. Patrick Ewing was awful at Georgetown. Penny Hardaway, where is he now? He's in Memphis. They're doing okay. And gosh dang it. Anyway, Vanderbilt just fired it. Jerry Stackhouse wasn't very good.
No.
And it's a lot of work. And for those guys, it's like, oh, we have to recruit. Well, what? I didn't know we had to recruit, and recruit and stuff like that. But the great ones have trouble a lot of times explaining the game.
Yeah.
Because Ted Williams,
just do what I do. And
yeah.
Grieve talks about it all the time. Tom says, he'd say, just hit. Just go hit. And Tom's like, I can't. You know, I'm not you. And they didn't say that in those days.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't talk back. But he just, it just seemed so ridiculous to Ted Williams that they didn't just go do what he did.
Right. And then Eddie Matthews was the Rangers hitting coach for a while. And he, 500 homers. He was in the Hall of Fame. And that wasn't as successful. So anyway, Kinsler was the manager of the Israeli team in the WBC. Not sure if he's have
they announced that? I think they have. Okay. Maybe not.
He seems to enjoy that, but I don't know that he's.
But again, that's once it's like a month or 2 month thing years, every couple of years, And DeRosa would probably be a good hitting coach.
I think he's eyeing a managerial job.
He's destined for something.
If he's going to leave the MLB network, I think it would be for being a manager. And he's the Team USA manager. He's got that position locked up for the next WBC. When is next year?
Yeah.
And so I don't know that he would become a hitting coach. And I don't really know. You kind of think which past Rangers players would be a hitting coach. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's just it. It's usually these guys who come up and, aren't great. Again, aren't great players. Donnie Ecker played in the minor leagues, but he wasn't great.
No.
I would not hire Mike Napoli as my hitting coach. I think he's got, where is he with the Cubs? Is he still at the Cubs or is he out of the game now? But the point being, with all, and again, to your point, with all the money that these guys are making, you really got to look a little further down the payroll list here in the past, and you look at guys who've been known as good hitting coaches. Dave Magadan, he was a nice player, but he wasn't a superstar.
Yeah,
so Sean Casey. Well, there you go, Sports Zone. Maybe you got to get him again. You got to get him away from the network. And a mid-season hire. Would somebody want to drop in, and be like, "Oh, I've got to save this team. I don't know a lot about them."
Sure.
Generally, these things happen internally, except of course the one that's happened this season was Clint Hurdle, although he had been working with the Rockies,
yes,
on like a special assistant basis,
consultant type guy.
Yeah,
and it begs the question: Skip Schumacher.
Yeah. Again,
I don't know that. I mean, obviously, Skip Schumacher is there thinking I'm a manager and waiting in case if and when Boch retires. Not like he, is hoping for that or thinks it'll happen. And he's just there in case, right? But do you do us a solid, right? If we've decided to make a change at hitting coach or offensive coordinator, do you do us a solid and you slide in there because, we know you can be a great manager, so we assume you can do this job as well.
Yeah, but it's still is that his area of expertise?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I mean,
is he more of a fielding guy? I don't remember Skip Schumacher winning any batting titles.
No, the reality is though that's back to your point of it's not the great players. Like it's a guy who you don't remember much. Somebody asked too about Bobby Wilson. Did he not make enough? He probably did. I don't know what Bobby made in his career.
Oh, he was in the minors a long time.
He was, and he may not have, but the point is
3 daughters, got a lot of weddings to pay for.
Yeah, that's a heck of a point in college. Yeah, but the point is, too, some guys just they have that in them, right?
Yeah,
they're that teacher. They're that Bobby Wilson is like the Pied Piper. I mean, everybody on that Rangers charter just loves the guy, follows him around. I mean, he is a go-to guy for all the players because he's bridges the gap. Age-wise, I mean, and again, who knows? But there's a large part of him that enjoys doing what he's doing. Steve Buechele, when he was coaching for when he was Banny's bench coach, I mean, Boo had made plenty of money, but he really enjoyed doing it and enjoyed being a part of the game. It was something he wanted. He had managed Boo, of course, managed Bakersfield, and then did he manage Frisco too? I think he managed Frisco for a while. So, Boo, that was in Boo's blood. It's not in everybody's blood, and it's harder to inspire that if you are a zillionaire, right?
Yeah.
It's just harder. And that's not. I mean, Boo Boo made plenty of money, but that's not where players of his generation were.
Right.
You weren't getting generational wealth in those days.
Yeah,
So
and then you're getting further away from those guys who, it just seemed like a logical transition.
right.
And now it's like, man, I got kids now. I've got all this money and I got this beautiful house. I don't have to leave because it's so nice. And I can play golf.
Yep.
I can't. I don't see it.
No. But again, now, and again, he's had some issues since that derailed this. The last player I remember, and he made plenty of money, but the last player I remember saying as he was departing that he was really interested in managing was Omar Vizquel. And, he just had it in him, right?
Yeah.
He was just, and it used to be back in the day, almost anybody who was that leader and who was that outgoing, gregarious type, at the end of his career, would be like, you have an interest in managing? You want to get into coaching? Now, we hardly ever ask guys that.
Right.
Like, nobody, are you kidding me? Almost all of them, no, I have no interest in coaching. So, anyway, there's a decent little sidebar to get into as far as what they might do. And that's a big if they had decided to make a change at that offensive coordinator / hitting coach position. Again, having just hired Justin Veely, I don't know that it's 2 for 1, Jeff. If they let one go, I don't know that they let the other go.
Yeah, there's probably more years on one contract than the other. But I don't know, and they don't really disclose the terms of their coaches' contracts, so I don't know where all that stands. But I think that I think there's still time. I do. I don't think anybody wants to make the move, And again, it's like, all right, so who do you go get? And you think who's our minor league hitting coordinator? Oh, it's Cody Atkinson. All right, he's worked with a lot of the young hitters. Could be a good fit for them. The older hitters seem to know what to do, but then when we talk about the team, the struggles of the team, you're talking about the veteran hitters. So I don't know how you unlock them. It seems like they need to, and a lot of them are trust their routines and their ways and have seen what they've done work. I don't know if that means they're resistant to change. Major changes, I would assume they're absolutely resistant to, but and some of it may not be swing. Some of it just may be approach with like Adolis.
Yes.
He's worked on his swing in the offseason. He kind of has his own hitting guy. But you still got to have a great approach to make your swing work. And so it's just a tough.
Well,
tough
and it
spot.
gets even more complicated when you consider the fact. And look, Corey Seager's not the problem offensively. Before he went on the injured list, he was really starting to fire on all cylinders. But guys like him, really all of them, Corey has it more daily. But a different voice, right? A different hitting coach in his head from the Rangers' offensive coordinator and hitting coach. Not to say he disregards what they suggest or what they, tell him or ask him to do, but the reality is they probably don't need to ask him or tell him to do much because he's so good at his routine, his system. And a lot of these guys who have been so good over the years, they just found that right little voice that has coached them up to this point. And they, I don't know, I don't want to say don't need coaching, but they, it could be a more difficult, more complicated process, I guess, if you've got your own personal hitting coach, which most of them do.
Yeah. They get away from them, I suspect, more with exceptions, but we see Corey in part of the routine that he goes through with the iPad and how he communicates with his hitting guy. Adolis has started to do that. His hitting guy, who in the offseason at least was Bobby Wood Jr.'s hitting guy. So if there's something going on there, then okay, that makes some sense. But Corey's had his guy forever, pays him out of his own pocket. And I think the Rangers knew that when they were bringing when they brought him in, and they've just kind of let it go because it's worked.
Yep.
Yeah.
It ain't broke, you don't fix it. And generally, that swing ain't broke. So sometimes the body is, but not the swing. All right, more coming up. It's our cleanup segment coming next as we clean things up in the world of baseball and have news about a former Ranger who has landed himself a new job. That's coming next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And we have to remind you once again, this is the last day, officially the last day of that $36 deal for diehards. Become a diehard today for just $36. You will get all of Jeff's writings and things from spring training next year, right? Because this baby lasts a year. You'll get the NFL draft coverage that we have next year if you sign up today, because the draft will be over, right, by this time next year. So sign up today for just $36. Get yourself a $35 T-shirt. Get the draft coverage from our guys Clarence and Joe. Get the Rangers coverage from Jeff and from me. Get the Stars coverage from Sam and all his guys. And, of course, the Mavs are well covered, too, with Tim Cato and all of their crew. So it's a no-brainer. You also get 20% off all of our events. We're going to have a COSM event coming up. We're going to have some stadium takeover things that we're working on as well. And you get 20% off those, as well as, because once you have one shirt, you're going to want more, and you get 20% off all of those, too. So it's really a no-brainer. Sign up for $36 today.
Yeah, it's great.
We can't even tell you.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I wish my wife had signed up at the 36 instead of what she signed up.
She
for.
signed up at a big boy price.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
And then as John mentioned, you get a free T-shirt with your diehard membership. We are going to the ballpark today, so we have on our ballpark clothes,
Big boy clothes,
collared shirts. But we pretty much wear these other shirts every day. I was wearing one this morning after my workout and before I got cleaned up. So store.allcitynetwork.com, all kinds of shirts. They're great, and you guys will love them. And overlooked, it's a very unique way to represent your favorite team, the Rangers.
Yep. We'd appreciate you doing that. So that former Ranger who has found a gig is really Jeff's son. I mean, Jeff almost adopted him, Walter Pennington.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, we got
because of the same hometown and everything, right?
We got the Colorado connection.
Yeah.
He's from Broomfield. I grew up in Arvada, so I believe they border at some point. But he also went to the Colorado School of Mines in Golden, which is right down the street from the last house I lived in Colorado. Good person. He's just a nice guy, rooted in his faith, family guy, and he's got a hell of a slider. He's got to work on the fastball. But that's what happens when you sign all these veteran relievers who are doing really, really well. You start to chip into your depth when you have to DFA somebody. And he hadn't pitched this year, Walt. He had been in Arizona, didn't have a spectacular spring, so he's probably working on some things. He lives in Scottsdale, so a home game for him. But now he's got to go all the way across the country. But you'd rather be on the 40-man roster than not be on the 40-man roster.
Yep.
You're just a phone call away, and the Orioles are having some pitching problems.
They are. You go to the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore, one of the best ballparks still in the game, and fun place to play when they're playing well, which they have been for the past few years, and they seem to be off to a really wretched start this year. But man, when they're full of Baltimore Orioles fans, that ballpark it's a fun place.
Oh, it's a great place.
Yeah.
It's a great place to watch a game.
Yeah, no doubt. So anyway, good for Walt Pennington. We're very happy for him. Did you hear about Kevin Gossman?
I did.
He had a 57-pitch inning. It's the most in like 5 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
57 pitches. 40 is the magic number. He had 57 pitches in an inning, and then he freaked out and got tossed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another Coloradoan, Kevin Gossman. That's nuts. And I'd be pretty hot under the collar.
I would too.
At about about 25, I'd probably start getting pissed. But 57, that's one of the biggest numbers I've seen. I don't remember a Rangers pitcher ever doing that. I think the most I remember Rangers is somewhere in the middle 40s.
Okay.
But they usually are very proactive and will get a guy out at that point. That's nuts. That's a hell of a number.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, and then he was so frustrated because, again, he felt like he wasn't getting the calls. And I get somewhat frustrated when fans always blame the official, right? Blame the umpire, blame the referee, blame whatever. Because, but when a player brings it up, first of all, he probably knows he's going to be fined. And so he's, out there, like, right? He's put some some skins down on the table. And then the other thing is they see so much of it. They know when they're being wronged. And he just felt like the bottom of the zone was available. I can't remember who he was pitching against, but the bottom of the zone.
Yankees, right?
Yeah, the bottom of the zone was available to whoever the other starter was, and it wasn't there for him. And he said there were at least 5 pitches in that 57-pitch inning that he thought would have been strikes for the opponent. So anyway, a very interesting thing. And quickly, before we go on to the next thing, Dean checks in from Australia.
I saw that,
Jeff.
I saw that.
So g'day to you as well, Dean. And no, I don't think Elvis is a candidate to be the hitting coach either.
No, but I do think Elvis, of all these guys we've mentioned, and yes, he does make a lot of money, did make a lot of money. I think Elvis could be a coach. I think Elvis feels like he left some numbers on the table through maybe some mistakes he made as a younger player, not being as focused as he could have been, perhaps. I think Elvis could teach a lot of guys some stuff. I don't know if it's in a hitting capacity,
right?
But I think it's maybe more of a life skills capacity. Maybe a special assistant who talks to the players from Latin America, but all players, because Elvis's English has always been so good. I think Elvis could help out. TLC 94LS, he brought up something that I was thinking about on the way in. This may be what these players are.
That scares me.
And Simeon has been up and down throughout his career, but he's usually followed a bad one with a good one.
Yep.
But Adolis Garcia entered the season as a career 245 hitter. Jonah Heim was in the 220s or 230s for his career. And they're talking about Kyle Higashioka coming in and off this great 17 home run season. He still hit 220 last year.
Yeah.
And is 17 an aberration? Well, maybe. And I'm sure everybody has their opinions about Leody Taveras, or he's gotten a pretty long runway here. This might be who he is offensively. You still don't know about Josh Young. Berger has been better though. But I mean, I thought this. I've had your thought there, TLC, and you might be onto something.
No, it's a scary thought because again, what the Rangers are trying to prove is that 2024 was the aberration, and that 2023 is how they will comport themselves going forward. But maybe we're all going to learn the hard way that 2023 was in fact the aberration, and that everything clicked and everything came together. And look, the pitching didn't click that year. I mean, they got some good starting pitching, but the bullpen was bloody awful.
And DeGrom was hurt. Right,
DeGrom was
pretty
hurt
much right out of the chute.
Yeah,
Valdi missed a lot of the second half. At one point I thought John Gregg would have been an all-star. He was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's I guess that's a possibility. Now I like to think that it's not. They Rangers pro scouting. Everybody was had been giving the amateur side crap about the bad drafts and whatnot, and they kind of changed their draft philosophy to go maybe a little bit safer with college guys. Mm-hmm. They haven't been as wild. They haven't taken a high school guy since Cole Winn in 2018. The pro scouts were nailing it for many seasons. They really were. They're finding guys in the Dominican, finding guys in Japan. You look at what they're doing with the bullpen this year, and they tried to target very specific areas this last offseason. the hitting fastballs and hitting right-handed hitters. That's why Jake Berger and Jock Peterson were added to the team. But you needed the internal improvement too. And so did you misidentify something? Well, excuse me, Wyatt Langford looks like a hell of a player. So
He does.
That looked like a pretty easy one for the amateur side. And, there's no reason to argue with what he's doing. And Young and the health and all of that, boy, you like to see the power. You do see a lot of swing and miss from Josh still. Josh Young acquired in the trade. That looks like a good win for pro scouting. So, I don't know that I think the Rangers feel good about what they've put together. Seager's a hell of a player.
Yeah.
And Simeon has been in the past, but he's got to get going. Benny here anticipates that they're going to be eating a big chunk of Simeon's salary after this season. I don't know about that. I think we have 5 more months to let that one play out, and I probably would suspect that Simeon would still be on the roster next season, even if this one's a disaster.
And no, I don't see him at this point. I don't see him going back, Rarities, to that leadoff spot.
No, I don't either.
You know?
And because he has had a couple instances on this last road trip, batting 5th, where he produced runs, and it's just getting guys on base. And if Josh Smith is the better option right now, at some point maybe you do consider Wyatt Langford. I know you want to drive him, you want him to drive guys in, but if he's the only one getting on base regularly, I think he might lead the team in walks in addition to what he's doing on the hitting side.
And with regard to him, as tempting as it might have been for Boch to play him or even pinch hit him yesterday, he really wanted him to have a down day, a day off,
right?
Because he's only a week back from an oblique injury, right?
And
that was, that was restraint, right? That was good willpower from Boch, as tempting as it would be to get that bat in there at some point somehow.
Well, you got to manage your players. You got to keep them healthy for the long run. We talk about this has been terrible. Offense is awful. The Rangers are still 2 games above 500, and they've got 134 games left to play.
Yep. So
there's a lot of baseball. A lot of things could happen, but you would think by this point the bats would be going.
They're 10-3 at home, and so obviously they have a home field advantage. Interestingly, as we continue and finish up our cleanup segment, a couple of teams with better home records than the Rangers at home. The Mets are 12-1 at home, Jeff.
Yeah, they're playing pretty well. I think they're the new. I think in the MLB Power Rankings,
they are. They're the new number one.
New number one
rankings.
We'll see how long that lasts,
and they haven't really gotten Soto untracked yet.
Yeah,
or he hasn't gotten himself untracked. However you say that. The other team that's been really good at home after an 8-2 homestand is the Detroit Tigers, who, by the way, are on the next the schedule for the next road trip for the Rangers. Tigers just finished an 8-2 homestand. They are 13-3 at home, Jeff. And my brother called me today, and he said, "Hey, Tigers are 13-3 at home. When guess when the last time they were 13-3 at home was?" And naturally, I said, "Well, 84, I guess, right?
Yeah.
They've started that year 35-5. Nope, 1911.
Oh my."
Tiger Stadium wasn't even built yet, Jeff. They were at Briggs Field in 1911. Tiger Stadium opened in 1912. So it's been a minute since the Tigers have been that good at home. And who knows, 3 straight wins and the Rangers get to 13-3 at home, which I'm sure would have to be the best 16-game start they've ever had, although at home.
I'm sure that will be in the game notes today.
I was just going to say.
That will definitely be in the game notes.
In the game notes. So, there have been some teams that have a serious and decided home field advantage, and the Texas Rangers are one of them. They're home for 7 in a row, so that's a good thing right now. And they also have just their quote-unquote murderer's row of pitchers, facing the Athletics, who don't have a first name, here for the next 3 of the next 4, and Patrick Corbin tonight, who's been pretty good.
I'm fine with Oakland. I'm fine with Sacramento.
Do you like West Sacramento?
I don't. I think West Sacramento's garbage.
I heard Eric Nadel call them that on the. Oh, by the way, Eric is going to be on the show tomorrow.
Hey, well.
So it will be the first time we'll have a Hall of Famer in these hallowed halls from any of the shows. So make sure you're by the channel tomorrow at 1 o'clock and hear the dulcet tones of the voice of summer around here since 1979. The Hall of Famer Eric Nadel joins us tomorrow on the DLLS Rangers podcast. We hope you will be here with us as you are each and every day. We appreciate you. We appreciate all the chatting. And, hey, let's see what the Rangers can do tonight. Maybe, just maybe, they get a little more offensive. We'll talk with you tomorrow when Eric's our guest. Thanks for watching the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.